If I could ask you, Mr. Okechukwu, how does this message culminate into good policies that will fix the economy?
It does, my brother. It does.
How will it?
Because we are saying, no matter the trillions, we've gotten trillions of dollars in the past. But because of the fact that our attitude was, let me help myself, Nigeria can go to hell, the rest can go to hell. We're saying that attitude had to be built up. Otherwise, we'll run into another oil windfall. We'll leave the country, the country's fiscal infrastructure dilapidated, the educational institutions decayed, the health sector gone awry. It is an attitude of the mind. If you see that Osito Okechukwu, as the Director General of Voice of Nigeria, had earned money, and you know that the money is from dishonest or corrupt means, please don't spare me and don't spare anybody. If you do that, if you know that you're a councillor, instead of building the culvert that is going to your village, he's using the money for himself. It is our duty. That's what we're saying. We're saying it must be collective. It is change that begins with me, not just with government alone.
I think
then
people understand
on the fiscal
this.
policy and the economic policy.
I think, Mr. Okechukwu, sorry to quote you. I think perhaps because we want you to hit it. That is why we keep asking questions of you that Nigerians would want to get answers. The thing is, we're trying to. I highlighted what one of our founding fathers did say in the West in the pilot, talking about Nnamdi Azikiwe, and we're talking about showing the light. And I tried to put this side by side with someone who's still very much around with us, and that's President John Magufuli of Tanzania. Don't forget, he came into office in November of 2015, and he came later than when our president came on. And from the first day, a lot of people knew where they were headed. And it took him about 4 months before he made his first foreign trip. And that foreign trip was just to neighboring Rwanda. Nigerians would love to see what this government has done. Is this not coming too late after 1 year in office before this launch that should have told the people where we were headed? And what have you shown us to say this is the way to go?
Let me, if you understand what I mean by the light, what I understand by the light is that Mr. President is trying to make sure that the wastages and the leakages of the past is plugged. Maybe in Tanzania, their Procurement Act might allow Mr. President to dish out contracts. If that had been the case, I know, for instance, that President Muhammad Buhari had awarded a lot of contracts. The president of Tanzania did not come after an election and the region of his country had been taken over by some other terrorists who were hanging flags in over 14 local governments in Borno State and had devastated the entire northeast region of the country. Luckily, nobody wants to give a credit that most of those lost territories have been recovered. If you don't take it as a distraction, if you come to power and see that part of your house is under fire, and you start trying to look for water and whatever you could use to put out the fire, if you don't take it as an achievement. But what I'm saying is that by the time the deliveries of the contract going on now, if you see somebody like the Minister Fashola running around the country and you think he's wasting time, it's not. The point is that they asked me in Enugu about a week ago, you promised us that the Nigerian code will be revamped. I said yes. That there's an advertorial coming up for at least a study to be done in order to attract foreign direct investment. It had been done in the past. In 2002, coal was privatized without advertorial, without study. Today, what happened? About 19 refineries licenses were awarded. In the past, what happened? Because you do not have a clear study to attract the foreign investors. The investors have gone ahead to ask you, what is the quantity of coal we are talking about? Where are they located? What's the quality? You say, no, coal had been there. They agree with you that coal had been there. But they want to be specific, to know how much they are investing, and whether it's also possible for them to have a return on investment. The same is applicable in the bitumen. If you find time, you can talk to Fayemi outside the camera. He will let you know the study that have been done in the solid mineral sector, trying to cover all the edges. But they know that the greatest disadvantage this government has is that we do not have money anymore. That the money we have is battling with salaries and other intakes. But for you to invite foreign investors, you must also adhere to their standards. Their standard is that they must know by study what you have. So this government is trying to make sure that we do not just jump the way we jumped in the past and we didn't land anywhere in order to satisfy people. We are looking at the facts, not feelings. The feeling is yes, do it the way so that they'll be clapping on the streets. But if the people clap this year and they do not clap in 3 years' time, is it better? We're saying it's better that Nigerian people will clap for President Muhammad Buhari in 3 years' time that clap today for nothing.
I'm wondering, it's been over a week now since this change begins with me mantra was launched, and by now we ought to have been seeing, perhaps the messages being spread across the country. One would have thought that there was a plan in place to, drive this almost immediately, and it seems it's been silent. So what exactly are we waiting for again?
What we're waiting for, the average national newspaper, the editorial, is about 400,000 naira. We're happy with a medium like the channels that have remained number one in the past 10 years, trying to help us to do the editorial. The government is encountering, one, the entire...
Trying to help you do the editorial how?
No. What are you doing today now? Because we do not have that money. We spend about 165 billion every month for salaries. And if we start retrenchment, the government and President Muhammad Buhari will be criticized.
So you're saying that there is no money, in essence, to drive this change mantra that has just been launched?
The money we have is what we are using by trying to address the way we can. But we do not have the bliss you wanted. We do not have money for that bliss.
So how did the government intend to drive this change agenda in the first instance?
It's in the people's mind, like we are doing now. We like the interrogation. And this is a medium. There's another medium that is also addressing the same issue. In the pubs, this issue, yes, it can be changed with me. It's late, it's early, it's good. Those are the debates going across the country. You might not harmonize it unless you do an opinion poll. But don't take it to be, we're saying that it must be the old style. That the old style is riddled with profligacy, corruption, that everything that had to be measured according to your code.
Mr. Okechukwu, I'm just wondering, when the government launched a program, what they expected that the debate was going to be happening in pubs and
market
squares,
yes.
and that was it? That was the idea behind it?
No, don't forget that a silent revolution had always been the most that lasted. Not be noisy. We're talking about the people's attitude. Please, why are you hungry? If you are hungry because the commonwealth of the country was looted in the past, if you see any looter, please point it out. Why are you hungry? Because we are indolent in our little ways. Both those who are in service and those who are not in service. That what we could have done, we are not doing it.
So what you're saying is, in essence, there is no campaign poster, there is no billboard, there is no jingle, nothing in that respect.
How can I say that? When you are here helping me to do the campaign, helping the government to do the campaign, and another organ is doing so, the social media is awash.
But Mr. Okechukwu, if we could jump in here for a minute, Because, I mean, having listened to you respond to how this message or this campaign was being formulated, one could then ask you, look, it doesn't appear, we don't know the kinds of communication experts or message design professionals that were consulted or that helped design this message, because there are several factors. I mean, what they call channel noise in communication process and theory, that people will stand in the way of people understanding this message the way the government wants it. Several questions. They'd say, for instance, if change is supposed to begin with all of us, they expect to see how is government making public institutions more accountable to the people. The president is the one who appoints the INEC head, appoints the IG. What are they doing to ensure that that changes? Your party did promise Nigerians you were going to do something about decentralizing or restructuring the police force. What is being done about that, for instance? They don't have answers to all of this. Some people also accuse your party of being one-sided in your corruption fight. You haven't bought over those people, and then you want them to believe that, look, all of this is for their own good. How?
Thank you very much, because luckily you highlighted one of those basic points that had always been made. The point of the matter is the corruption fight is not one-sided. Nobody could have probed Osito Okechukwu in Voice of Nigeria, but you can now probe me. Nobody could have probed Chamberlain for being the NSA in the President Jonathan's years, because you are not. The issue is that the corruption in the country is linked up to public service, because this is a country that is on a primary, what we call not a primitive per se, semi-primitive economy, where everything is dependent on the public fund. Because even those who call themselves captains of industry, most of them do not have factories. So because of the fact that there's a paucity of funds in the country where the interest rate is above 15%, there's little you can do on the private sector except if somehow you were lucky. So what the government is trying to do is that we are saying in the next few years, the money we'll save will make better results than the big money we got in the past and wasted. And we're saying, please, we need citizen participation. Because if the citizens are not involved, we're wasting our time. So you might not see the shining light, because this one is built on concrete foundation that's been laid on law. This foundation is not about the foundation of flickers. No. Watch out. You will see, with the little that we have, do you believe that the Petroleum Trust Fund, headed by Mr. President as chairman, did more rehabilitation and construction of more roads, hospitals and educational institutions, more than the 16 years of the People's Democratic Government? I stand to be contradicted. But the point we are trying to say is that let's not go back to the past. It's very difficult for people to remind people that the past had kept us where we are. Let's have a change. That's the change we are saying. We're not saying we're going to manufacture new Nigerians, but we're saying that there must be an introspection, that we must be our brother's keeper, that we didn't go far by everybody on his own. There was a statement that I learned the other one. They said under the previous regimes who produced the richest African. No, we're saying lifting people out of poverty, greater number of people out of poverty, not producing billionaires. If you produce billionaires, too good, but lift more people out of poverty. And what will generate that is the fact that every Nigerian must work harder, be more honest in our transactions, be more public service spirited. If you are personally self-opinionated and your interest is about yourself, then we are behaving like the he-goat who runs around the whole day about only the he-goat himself, who is not interested even for the she-goat she pregnanted. He's only talking about itself. We are not he-goats, we are human beings. We are learning from what had made the other cultures of the world. and countries of the world to lift themselves out of poverty.
Mr. Okechukwu, that we'll leave it. We've been speaking with Mr. Osita Okechukwu, who is the Director General, Voice of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily.